Tyres are probably the most important part of a Formula 1 car, and also the most difficult to get right. They naturally impose the greatest performance limitation on any given F1 car because they are the only part in constant and direct contact with the racetrack, and so F1 teams invest enormous time and energy trying to better understand how to make them work properly. F1 tyre science is so complex that even top Formula 1 teams, counting on millions of dollars worth of engineering talent and infrastructure, still describe the method for extracting performance from them as a black art. This inexact science is a big part of the reason why Mercedes can suddenly look like F1's second best team in Barcelona. Lando Norris can qualify a terrible McLaren on the second row of the grid, and Charles Leclerc can't get out of Q1 in what should be a front-running Ferrari, whilst Carlos Sainz qualifies second in what is basically an identical car. As Charles said when trying to explain why he lacked pace throughout Spanish Grand Prix qualifying and the race, 2 or 3 degrees in tyre temperature makes a huge difference. Formula 1 cars are also constantly getting faster, and as the teams develop parts to produce greater levels of downforce in pursuit of extra performance, so the tyres come under even greater strain from the enormous loads imposed on them. This creates a massive problem for F1's sole tyre supplier. Pirelli have enjoyed exclusive rights to supply F1 with tyres since 2011 and have faced a constant battle to keep up with the pace of development in Formula 1, while often being heavily criticised for producing tyres that seem unable to withstand the demand of modern F1. Pirelli's problem is threefold. 1. F1 has generally wanted tyres that don't last the distance, because tyres that fall apart equals more pit stops, which in theory equals more jeopardy, and therefore more excitement. Therefore, Pirelli will argue they have basically been asked to engineer weakness into their tyres to try to make the racing more exciting. Number 2. Because Pirelli are the sole tyre supplier, they have had to build a tyre that works for all 10 cars on the grid. These cars all produce differing downforce levels, which means that a tyre that works well on a Red Bull will probably not work very well at all on a Williams. So Pirelli need to find a compromise that favours no one. This tends to mean the top teams overwork their tyres and complain they aren't robust enough, while smaller teams tend to struggle to get them to work effectively and complain they are too hard or too difficult to warm up. As you probably know, tyres are a fundamental part of F1, and with F1 Manager 2023, you'll have to make decisive decisions when it comes to tyre strategy and tyre management. In F1 Manager 2023, you can take charge of any of the 10 official F1 teams and drive them to success. With stunning upgraded visuals, you can see the on-track action unfold like never before. You'll get to race at every track on this year's updated calendar, including 6 F1 sprint events for the first time. We can't wait to see the streets of the Las Vegas Strip circuit through the new visor cam. It's not just driver tactics and strategy that make the difference on race day. The new sporting director role allows you to focus your pit crew training to avoid costly mistakes. Race replay mode gives you a new way to play the game, allowing you to relive pivotal moments from the 2023 season and change the outcome of races based on your decisions. Whether you're scouting drivers from the newly simulated F2 and F3 championships, taking backmarker teams to title contenders, or cementing a championship-winning team's legacy, new challenges await you this year in F1 Manager 2023. Can you navigate your team to success when all cars have equal performance, or handle rain in the usually dry Bahrain? The Deluxe Edition comes with 12 exclusive scenarios just like this, as well as 4 days early access to the game before the July 31st release date. You can pre-order the Deluxe Edition using the link in the description below, so you're ready to drive every decision in F1 Manager 2023. Number 3. As F1 cars get heavier and faster, so the strain on the tyres becomes even greater. Pirelli have to develop their tyres to keep up, but this is a constantly shifting target because F1 teams tend to underpromise and overdeliver when it comes to their simulations, and predicting to Pirelli how much potential downforce their cars might produce. Until recently, Pirelli didn't even have access to current F1 cars for tyre testing, so we're constantly playing catch-up. Over the years, they have suffered many high-profile tyre failures as a result of being behind F1's development curve, and the teams have faced increasing restrictions in terms of how they can use the tyres. both to attempt to safeguard against further dangerous failures and to try to prevent teams gaining a competitive edge from what is effectively a standard component. These restrictions range from prescribing certain suspension configurations, as well as minimum pressures and maximum temperatures the tyres are permitted to be set and heated to. These restrictions have become more stringent over the years, following several high-profile incidents, the most infamous of which is probably the 2013 British Grand Prix, where 6 rear tyres failed inexplicably and caused absolute chaos. Occasionally, controversies emerge relating to the teams allegedly finding clever ways to work around Pirelli's limits, such as when Lance Stroll and Max Verstappen suffered high-speed blowouts during the 2021 Azerbaijan Grand Prix that couldn't be explained away by debris or cuts to the tyres. Generally speaking, tyres will work better at lower pressures, because the lower the pressure, the more of the tyre's surface will maintain contact with the racetrack, so it makes sense to try to run them as low as possible. But that also comes with increased risk of failure, because an underinflated tyre will move around more on the wheel rim and be less resistant to cuts from debris and curbs, or to high-frequency vibrations and shocks coming from the incredible demands placed on them by cars that are constantly trying to turn nearly 1,000 brake horsepower into useful grip. Bridgestone were the tyre supplier that preceded Pirelli in F1. After a brief involvement with homegrown Japanese teams in the mid-1970s, Bridgestone entered F1 properly in 1997 and became synonymous with the extraordinary success enjoyed by Michael Schumacher and Ferrari in the early 2000s. They were briefly F1's sole supplier in 1999 and 2000 after American company Goodyear pulled out, before engaging in a tyre war with French manufacturer Michelin from 2001 to 2006. This is often cited as a golden period for F1 because you had two companies working hard to innovate, push the boundaries with their tyre technology, and make their customer teams more competitive as a result. The tyres in this period in F1 history were a delight for the drivers, and thanks to the extraordinary levels of commitment from the suppliers, never behind the development curve of the cars. The competitive picture would often shift from race to race based on which supplier's tyre suited which circuit. But such intense competition also required huge amounts of costly testing and led to suppliers favouring certain teams in order to win. Bridgestone supplied 5 teams in 2003, but their focus was naturally on making a tyre to suit Ferrari, because Ferrari had the greatest chance of championship success. Ferrari and Bridgestone became such a relentlessly successful combination in this era that F1 even went so far as to ban tyre changes entirely in 2005 in an effort to peg them back. Fernando Alonso and his Michelin shod Renault duly prevented Schumacher and Ferrari winning a 6th consecutive world championship. This tyre war ended after 2006, and Bridgestone became F1's sole supplier again until 2011, when Pirelli took over. Pirelli's current deal lasts to the end of 2024, and there are rumours Bridgestone have tendered to become F1's sole tyre supplier again from 2025. That means we won't see Bridgestone's battle it out with Pirelli on track. F1's tyre war days are long gone now. But it could mean a familiar F1 name returning to take on the current challenger new. If Bridgestone do come back, they will face exactly the same problems Pirelli do today, namely how to keep pace in a development race that constantly surprises even F1's own competitors. Would you like to see Bridgestone back in F1? Let us know in the comments, and if you want more F1 content, be sure to subscribe.